When the phone rang on that quiet Tuesday afternoon, I had no idea that a single conversation would shatter the illusion I had held on to for so many years about my son and what it meant to be a mother. I answered with a warm smile in my voice, expecting Adam to confirm the time I should arrive, or perhaps ask if I needed help getting to the venue. Instead, his tone was cold and careful, like he had rehearsed the words. "Mom, I need to tell you something. Sophia and her parents think it's better if you don't come to the wedding." The words struck me like a physical blow. I stood frozen in my small, modest kitchen, and the same kitchen, where I had prepared meals for just the two of us for 20 long years after his father died. My heart pounded as I asked, "What do you mean, Adam?" "I'm your mother. I've been waiting for this day for months." He let out a heavy sigh, as if I was the one being unreasonable. "Look, Sophia's family comes from old money. They're very wealthy and well-connected. Their guests are all successful people, executives, doctors, lawyers. They said you wouldn't really fit in. Your style, the way you dress, it might look out of place in the photos and the video. It's going to be a very high society event." Too poor, that was the real message. I, Evelyn Thompson, a 68-year-old retired librarian and widow, who had worked 2 jobs most of my life just to raise him alone, was suddenly not good enough, too poor, to attend my only son's wedding. For the past 6 years, I had given them almost everything I possessed. Whenever Adam had trouble keeping a job, I paid their rent month after month without complaint. When they wanted a nicer apartment in a better area, I co-signed the lease and covered the large deposit. Every single month, I transferred between $700 and $900 for groceries, car repairs, bills, and Sophia's constant emergencies. I even sold my late husband, Robert's gold watch, one of the few precious things he left behind, to help them buy her engagement ring. I had quietly sacrificed so much. I skipped my own medical appointments when money was tight. I gave up the small vacations I sometimes dreamed about. I slowly drained my retirement savings and the modest life insurance money. Robert had left me so I could live my later years with some peace and security, all of it so that my son and his fiancée could live more comfortably. And yet, on what should have been one of the happiest days of his life, I wasn't considered special enough to be present. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't break down in tears on the phone. I simply whispered, "I understand," in a tone much calmer than the storm of pain and humiliation rising inside me, and then I hung up. That night, I sat alone in my living room for hours, staring at the pale blue dress I had, carefully chosen and bought for $135, and the biggest personal purchase I had made in years. It hung silently in the closet like a painful reminder I had pictured myself wearing it, sitting proudly as I watched my son get married, maybe even sharing a dance with him. That dream died the moment those words left his mouth. 2 days after the wedding, while I was still seeing the stunning photos flooding social media, my son beaming, beside his beautiful bride in a luxurious venue filled with flowers and sparkling chandeliers, surrounded by Sophia's elegant and affluent family, an email notification appeared on my phone. The subject line was blunt and businesslike. "Wedding expenses, outstanding balance in your contribution." With trembling hands, I opened the attachment. It was a formal invoice. The luxury venue rental alone was $68,000. High-end catering and open bar came to $42,000. Professional photography and videography added $15,000. The extravagant 5-star honeymoon in the Maldives was listed at $25,000. The total amount they expected me to cover was $150,000. At the very bottom, Adam had written a short note. "Mom, we know you've always wanted the best for us. Please make the transfer by the end of the month so we can settle everything. Thanks for understanding." Understanding? After they excluded me because I was too poor to be seen with them. After 6 years of treating me like nothing more than a convenient source of money. Something inside me finally shattered that evening. Instead of calling him right away, I sat down at my old kitchen table with a cup of tea and pulled out every bank statement and receipt I had kept over the years. As I added up all the support I had given them, the rent, the bills, the deposits, the endless emergencies, the gifts and the loans that were never repaid, the total reached more than $87,000. Money taken directly from my pension, my retirement fund, and the small savings my husband had left for my security. That night, I cried like I hadn't cried in decades. These were not gentle tears of sadness, but deep, angry sobs for the devoted, self-sacrificing mother I had been. For every time I chose cheap meals so they could eat better. For every plan I canceled because they had another crisis. For every time, I convinced myself that true love meant giving until there was nothing left. The next morning I woke up changed. The hurt was still raw, but alongside it was a new, cold clarity and a quiet strength I hadn't felt in many years. I reached out to my old friend Margaret, a retired family law attorney. I told her the whole painful story without holding anything back. After listening carefully, she said the words that became my anchor. "Evelyn, this is financial exploitation. You do not owe them one more dollar." That same day, I went to the bank and stopped every automatic transfer I had set up. For Adam and Sophia, I had the locks on my house changed, and I started carefully documenting every call, every message, and every demand they made. 1 week later, Adam called again. This time his voice was no longer cold. It was desperate and shaky. "Mom, the wedding planner is threatening to take legal action. Sophia's parents are furious. We're going to lose everything if we don't pay. You have to help us. We're family." I took a deep breath and answered with surprising calm. "Adam, didn't your in-laws say I was too poor to even attend your wedding? How can someone they considered too poor suddenly be asked to pay $150,000? There was a long, heavy silence. Then the guilt trips began. I was selfish. I was ruining his marriage. I didn't care about his future. I was failing as a mother. I ended the call without raising my voice. The weeks that followed were incredibly difficult. Adam and Sophia started appearing at my door without warning, sometimes several times a week. Once they even brought Sophia's father, a tall, stern man in an expensive suit, who tried to pressure me by talking about family, duty, and doing the right thing for the younger generation. They began hinting at legal consequences, claiming I had promised to help with the wedding costs. The emotional manipulation felt endless. Thankfully, Margaret took full charge of the situation. We collected every piece of proof we could find, years of bank records showing the more than $87,000. I had already given, the text messages that only came when they needed money, and the voicemail, where Adam openly said his in-laws didn't want someone like me at the wedding. We also uncovered a surprising fact. Sophia's supposedly rich family was actually struggling with heavy debts. The lavish wedding had been thrown mostly for show, and now they were trying to push the enormous bill onto me. 3 months after the wedding, Adam and Sophia filed a formal civil lawsuit against me demanding the full $150,000. They claimed breach of a verbal promise and emotional distress. At 68 years old, after a lifetime of quiet hard work and sacrifice, my own son was taking me to court to seize what little financial peace I had left. On the morning of the hearing, I wore the same simple pale blue dress I had once hoped to wear to the wedding. I walked into the courtroom with my head high and Margaret at my side. Adam could barely look at me. Sophia watched me with cold hostility. Their lawyer worked hard to portray me as a bitter, confused older woman who had irrationally turned against her own family. Then Margaret presented our evidence. She showed the long history of financial support, the pattern of constant requests for money, the deliberate exclusion from the wedding, and the recording that revealed their true opinion of me. The judge listened intently, his expression growing more serious with every revelation. When Adam was on the stand, Margaret asked him directly, "If your mother is so unreliable, why did you send her a bill for $150,000 expecting her to empty her retirement savings for your wedding?" He had no solid answer. Sophia's story also fell apart when she admitted under questioning that they had purposely kept me away to maintain the image they wanted in front of her wealthy social circle. After several tense hours, the judge delivered his decision. He ruled that I was not responsible for any of the wedding expenses. The court clearly recognized the pattern of financial exploitation, and Adam and Sophia were ordered to pay all my legal cost. As we left the courthouse, Adam came up to me, his eyes filled with tears. His voice broke as he said, "Mom, I'm so sorry. We made a terrible mistake." I looked at the man who had once been my little boy, the child I had raised single-handedly after losing his father, and replied softly, "I loved you more than life itself. Adam, but love is not something you can buy with my retirement money or my peace of mind. I hope someday you truly understand that." I turned and walked away without looking back. In the months that followed, I sold the old family house that now carried too many painful memories. I used the money to buy a bright, cozy apartment near the ocean with a small balcony where I could enjoy the sunrise and sunset every day. I picked up painting again, gentle watercolors of the sea flowers and peaceful scenes, something I had set aside long ago so I could devote all my time and resources to my son. I reconnected with dear friends I had drifted away from. Over the years, I began traveling to places I had only read about, and I started volunteering at the local library, guiding young single mothers who face struggles similar to the ones I once knew. For the first time in many years, I allowed myself to spend money on my own comfort and joy without feeling guilty. I bought clothes that made me feel good. I enjoyed nice meals. I slept soundly through the night. Through friends, I later learned that Adam and Sophia's luxurious lifestyle had collapsed. Under its own weight, they had to sell their expensive apartment and move into something much smaller. Both of them were now working second jobs just to cover their bills. The life they had built on my sacrifices and other people's money had finally caught up with them. On quiet evenings, as I sit on my balcony beneath the stars, I sometimes reflect on the woman I once was, the exhausted, guilt-filled mother who believed she had to keep giving money and sacrifices to earn her son's love and respect. That woman is gone now. In her place is someone stronger, wiser, and finally at peace. Someone who has learned one of the most valuable lessons life can teach. Real love never has a price. Tag your own dignity, peace, and well-being are precious and worth protecting, and sometimes the kindest thing a parent can do for their grown children is to stop carrying them and let them learn to stand on their own. My name is Evelyn Thompson. I am now 69 years old, and for the first time in my entire adult life, I am truly free.